What's up, everybody? Welcome to an all-new episode of Weirdos at Home. You know who I am. I'm Sam Slade, and I'm very excited about my guest today. It's his first time on the show. He's a very funny dude. He's a hell of an artist. He hosts. You can find him at the South Park Meadows, Little Woodrow's on Mondays, where he hosts an open mic. Sign-ups at 7:30. The show starts at 8. That is, unless bigger gigs come calling, and then he's not going to waste your time. Waste his time. Excuse me. Enough already. Jimmy Smoltich, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you letting me come and do this thing, man.
It's been a long time. I think we bumped into each other in mics years ago. I'm really excited to have you on. It's that kind of thing where, like, we've lived in the same town for most of our lives, in the same school district at rival schools, missed each other by a couple years. And now I think we're both at that, based on our conversation earlier, we're both at this amazing place of like, what the fuck happened to our generation?
Oh yeah, man. It's crazy. When we were in high school, I thought that the world was filled with mostly good people, but now I don't think that, like you get older and you just see people like get dumber. It's crazy.
We've had a real rough go. I mean, I guess you would have been at Crockett during 9/11, right?
That was right after I had graduated. So I graduated in the summer of 2001.
Oh, so you got tipped off by somebody.
Yeah, I made it out in time.
Some deep state thing.
I'd actually I would drop my little brother off at middle school, and then my friend lived right by there, and I'd pick him up, and we'd go and I dropped him off at Crockett, and I picked him up that day, and he's like, "Dude, did you hear what happened?" And he's like, "A plane hit one of the buildings." And I was like, I don't even know what's going on, man. Like, I just woke up and, got in the car to drop him to school. And then I was like, that's crazy, dude. And I went home and I turned on the news and the second plane had hit. And I was like, holy crap, dude, this is nuts, man. Like, it's crazy. And before that, the crazy thing was the Oklahoma City bombing, where the IRS and stuff. And my mom had worked for the IRS at the time. So that was kind of a scary thing too. But yeah, since then it's just like exponentially gotten worse,
we've really dropped the ball post 9/11. I got to say, on a lot of levels. We had a nice little 8 years of calm sanity with Barack Obama, and he got the fuck out and got a sweet Netflix deal. Who wouldn't?
Yeah, got into that windsurfing game.
Windsurfing game. His next door neighbor's Tom Hanks. Excuse me. I mean, I don't blame him.
Probably a little bit quieter of a neighbor.
Yeah, right. It seems to me, you correct me if I'm wrong, you, much like myself, were a prolific Austin ISD truancy record holder.
Yeah, I went there most of the early years. Like, I really enjoyed school until middle school. And then it was not my thing anymore, but then high school wasn't so bad at the beginning. It just got boring. Like, I realized that the stuff they were teaching me wasn't really helping me learn things. Right. It was just making me regurgitate what they wanted me to, like, feed them back, Right. So I felt like I wasn't growing in the situation. So whenever I would go, I would just go to whatever classes I thought were cool, like creative writing or whatever. And any classes I had that I didn't like math and stuff, I would just go and hang out in the art room. And the teacher in there would be like, you're not really supposed to do this. And I was like, yeah, but what are you going to do? And they wouldn't.
I did the same thing at Austin High. I'd go to government and economics because I was interested in it, and everything else could fuck itself.
Yeah,
you strike me as a dude. I mean, you're a great artist in many mediums. Ladies and gentlemen, he made the backdrop. I didn't make this Wrigley Field. I bought that from Target, I think. Jimmy made that, guys. He's a real artist, and you strike me as one of those creative types. You're like, you looked up one day and you're like, these fucks aren't challenging me anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I had been in the AP classes or whatever, but it still just was like, I felt like I wasn't like learning things. There was just a whole lot of like prep for tests and stuff.
Right.
When the prep test like was even bad. It wasn't even, they're like, just do your best and guess. That's not a good way to teach people. Like, yeah, just try to get the answers that seem stupid out of the way and then pick the one you know, like that's not an education right there. That's the lottery, you know.
And I think it was shortly after we left school where they like really cracked down on teaching the test, to where they were like, "Hey, teachers, it's your job's on the line if they don't fucking pass it."
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when I was going there, I graduated in 2001, or at least at Crockett and stuff. They were teaching for the test back then. It was like the only thing they cared about. You know, some of the other teachers were cool, you know, and they teach you actual stuff, but like the main like focus of the school was to get you to pass those tests, which
I think there were a lot of creative people in AIST in our era who were like, "Nah, I'm not doing this."
yeah, I mean,
Were you when you decided like I'm out? Was it like around the time you got a car?
no, I grew up pretty poor. So if I got a car, it was not going to last for more than a couple of months. It was like a hand-me-down Oldsmobile from the 70s or something, you know, like
Pretty dope.
all my cars didn't have like working gas gauges. And like one of them, I couldn't turn the lights on. So I had to just drive around with the brights everywhere. Just, they were not good vehicles, you know.
That's a perfect for South Austin back in the day when you're 16, 17.
Yeah, I had a skateboard, so you know that got me places.
Now that you're telling me this, all of a sudden, like you just reek of Crockett. All of a sudden,
Yeah, man, I reeked of a lot of things back there. So, yeah, back in the Crockett days, I did a lot of, you know, we were skateboarding, we were having a fun time in the back.
I mean, you had Conan's Pizza right there. You had
I worked at Conan's Pizza for 2 years.
Really?
Yeah, I've got tons of experience getting high. So that was that was that was a crazy job, man. Like clearly we were in the back all the time, and but I heard stories of the previous people who had worked there, and like they had like cops do like crack busts. People were selling crack out of the back of Conan's Pizza and stuff, and it was crazy. Yeah,
no, actually, I don't know. I grew up off of Stastny and Buffalo Pass, right down the street from Crockett, until I was like
right down the street.
8. Yeah. So I don't know where you were, but I don't know if you remember, next door to Conan's Pizza, there used to be a place called Video Update. Again, there wasn't a Blockbuster in the neighborhood yet, because eventually I think a Blockbuster moved in on that corner that's now like a.
That was the I Love Video Pizza opened up there, where the Cherry Creek Catfish is now still.
Yeah. So, but like this was like next door to Conan's, and I remember we went in one time, and I'm probably like 5 or maybe 6. And my dad's like, you know, there was no like comic book media. There was no like nerd media, right? It was on the mouth. And my dad's like, "So what's in the works?" And he's like this trial attorney, very like Pacino style. And like, he didn't care. He was asking for me. And they were like, "You'll never get this. They're turtles and they're ninjas, but they're teenagers." And I was like, "Oh,
sold."
I'm in.
I remember that comic shop right there. I went there when Jim Lee released a comic book and got him to sign it.
Oh, that's dope. Jim Lee of X-Men and DC fame.
Yeah, he was releasing a comic book called, like, I want to say Killer Instinct, but that's probably wrong. That's the video game, but it was something, yeah. And
it was like a one-off kind of thing he did.
Huh?
Was it like a one-off thing he did? Like it wasn't like some big canon story or something?
It was not affiliated with Marvel. I think it was maybe with Image or something.
Remember how cool Image was when we were kids?
I'm sorry?
Remember how cool Image was? Image was like the
it was the coolest, man. Yeah, it had the like the guys that broke the rules, you know, but also drew like amazing pictures. So it was like the bad boy of the comics.
I remember when we're Tara and I, who's usually the co-host of this podcast, Tara Brown, we've been joking around about going to she's never been to a Comic-Con, and I was telling her we gotta go. You love it. She's into all the nerd stuff and people watching and cosplay, and she was looking up Austin and San Antonio and trying to figure out which one she wanted to go to. And I was trying to explain to her that the equivalent to Comic-Con when we were kids in Austin was like there was like a dirty Red Lion motel off of 35 somewhere, like past 290, and there would be like a comic book convention. And every dude in the room looked like the comic book guy from The Simpsons.
Yeah,
and there was nothing to do but just go through boxes of comics. Maybe get like a promotional poster because you were a kid and they felt bad.
Oh yeah. I've never actually been to a big Comic Con either. I've just been to the Staples one where people like are making their own comics
That
and
sounds
trying
good.
to like yeah, like locals and stuff are just selling their own like little comic books and zines and stuff. It's a cool thing. Uh
I went to the one they had a few years ago, the one at the convention at the Austin Convention Center. And it was great people watching, but like, it's Lou Ferrigno sitting there waiting to sign something for $80, and then it's Earl Campbell, who you can see anywhere in this town. And you're like, when did Earl Campbell? Not that he wasn't a superhero when he played, but you're
yeah.
like, really? Like, we could get Chris O'Donnell? What's up?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Chris O'Donnell doesn't make sausages, so
You got
maybe.
that right, pal. Uh, so I didn't know if you were full on. I should have drawn conclusions based on being an artist. But I just saw The Flash the other night.
Oh yeah, right on.
I've got to say, it was the most fucking fun I've had in a movie theater in a very, very long time. And we've been hurt. We've been hurt by this studio before.
Yeah. DC has got a checkered past, that's for sure.
They do. Sometimes they don't call us back after we spend the night.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh they leave in the middle. Um
Oh my God, I have to go.
yeah. It's there's been some bad ones. So I'm always skeptical. Like I tend to not even watch superhero movies in the theater, even though that's like where you should watch them. But just because I've seen so many ever since Batman Forever, man. Like I can't I I went. I mean, I saw that one on the first day because I loved the first two Batman that came out, and I was a big Jim Carrey fan back in the day. And I
Oh,
was like, Batman and Jim Carrey, dude, this
dude.
is gonna be the best, and it wasn't.
And
And
and that guy from those westerns your dad likes.
Tommy Lee Jones,
Yeah. No,
yeah,
Jim
yeah,
Carrey was definitely the draw for me. I told a story on the podcast the other day. I walked out of Ace Ventura and I never heard of him. I think I'd seen him on In Living Color, but I didn't
yeah,
know, like, I didn't put the name with Fire Marshal Bill. And
yeah.
my dad had this amazing. My dad was a trial attorney, and he had this amazing secretary who could like find anything. And I was like, Carol, do you think you could find Jim Carrey's address? And she tracked it down, and I sent him basically the treatment for Ace Ventura 2,
Oh yeah,
but it was the same story, changed some details, and it was about the Dallas Cowboys horse.
oh yeah.
And then I didn't get a letter back. I got a signed headshot back that was like blatantly printed that said, Spanx for the memories. And he looks all young and perfect.
Yeah, that was before the crazy internet calls and stuff or
Yeah, yeah.
video. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. Tara and I always laugh. I don't know if you've seen,
Oh, it's not my childhood.
I don't know if you've seen some of these later, like, I don't know if it's a reboot trailer, like a very early trailer, but at one point they're like, Batman Forever's Ed Begley Jr. because he fired the Riddler.
Oh, really?
He was
Oh,
like the guy
yeah.
with the mustache. But like there was a minute in the 90s where they were marketing being like, and Ed Begley. Like, fuck.
Wait, so he's the one who played Jim Carrey's boss in that movie?
Yeah, with the
Oh,
big
okay, I
blonde
see.
mustache. Yeah.
I couldn't even remember him, like that wasn't even
I know. They were like, I guess to like really hold out parents are like, oh, Tommy Lee isn't enough and Iceman. How about Ed Begley? So who was your favorite
Yeah.
all-time Batman?
Um, I liked Keaton and I liked Bale a lot. I thought they really did well. I haven't seen Robert Pattinson's one.
Don't waste
Open
your
It Up.
time.
Huh?
Don't waste your time.
Don't waste my time. Oh, okay. I read something that said it was like he was good in it and the like cinematics were good but like the pacing was terrible and the mysteries were like just
Riddler's like a QAnon guy with a trash bag on his head. Like,
yeah, I didn't. I mean, the costumes have just been some of the costume choices they've made are kind of lackluster. But then when they go like full comic book, you get like bad costumes too, you know.
See, I think
It's
that's why I love the Flash so much. Is we walked in the Flash and we go, "Oh my god!" It was just fun.
yeah.
Like they weren't like. I mean, there's very emotional high points if you know the Flashpoint story and Flash and his mom and all that.
Hmm.
Obviously, everybody knows what happened to Bruce Wayne's parents. I hope by now. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, but it was fucking fun. It felt like watching a cross between like a Saturday morning Super Friends cartoon, the first act, and then like a Tim Burton movie for the second act, and then the third act was very much like a Snyder thing.
Oh wow, okay.
There's a blatantly like three acts that you're like, oh, vibe change, okay.
Right on. That seems cool. I think I can dig it. I mean, I enjoy the superhero movies, and I can even dig like the campiness of it and the cheesiness of it, you know. As long as it doesn't go too overboard, you know. Like that new Thor movie, the Love and Thunder one. I was not a big fan of that.
To roll like that with Christian Bale, I'm like, how much money did they fucking offer that guy?
I mean, I thought he was fine in it, I
He
guess.
was in a different movie, wasn't he?
Yeah, just the pacing of that one was like off the wall. I felt like I was watching a ping pong ball go back and forth in a room. You know, like it was nuts, man. Like
It was cat and a laser pointer of fucking pacing.
yeah, exactly, and just it's just nutty. I mean, and I enjoyed the Ragnarok one. I thought that was pretty well done. You know, like
I thought Ragnarok was so fucking refreshing.
yeah, it was fun. It still took itself seriously, but you know, it was a little bit playful. And then they just were like, all right, you like playfulness and check this shit out. And
We'll
let's
get fucking silly.
yeah, jamming like Guns N' Roses soundtrack like in every couple scenes, like I don't know, man.
You're like, tone it down, Odin's son, okay?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It was a little too much for
You know,
me.
do you lean more Marvel or DC? Because I feel like Marvel's been the safe bet over the last decade.
I've always been Marvel aside from Batman. Like he's the one guy I'm like, this seems cool, but then he's also a billionaire, which I'm like, you know, like
Yeah, then you got to do him right, to like you got to make him like a billionaire who doesn't realize he's a fucking billionaire, right? Like,
I
I think
mean,
that's
I
what
don't
was
know.
so great about Keaton was like I don't think he ever really truly grasped how rich he was.
Yeah, but I mean, just being that rich, you're kind of almost the villain, you know? Like you are the reason Gotham is in its state because you're exploiting the workers and you're opening up these like, you know,
Oh yeah,
vacuums where these other people can come in and create wealth because you've kind of monopolized the whole city. So I mean, aside from that aspect, it's he's a cool character, and I mean, I know you have to have him have a lot of money to be able to pull off what he does with all the gadgets and all that kind of stuff. But like, yeah, I mean, he's a good idea for a character, but aside from the billionaire part, which he kind of has to have anyways, I don't know.
well, and it's also well. First of all, I'm looking at your plugs. I failed to mention this earlier. You'll be teaching income inequality and Bruce Wayne at UT next semester.
Yeah, yeah, you know.
No, I don't think in the 40s when they concocted this shit that they had any idea. You
Yeah,
know,
it was a different time back then. I don't think that they thought the character was going to evolve the way he did. I mean,
they
it was
even
like,
keep going, right? Like,
yeah, and it's kind of just like all the superheroes. I mean, a lot of them have kind of like been. I feel like Spider-Man and Superman, they kind of knew what they were getting into, but Batman seemed to grow in a way that I felt like they didn't really imagine in the beginning. Because the first ones were just like detective comic strips
yeah.
where it was just straight like he's going after like mob guys and stuff. Um,
Which Bale kind of got back to that. I mean, there's a lot of mob shit in the Bale ones.
yeah, yeah, but I feel like it didn't focus too much on like his richness at
Yeah.
the same time, you know, and it wasn't like high tech gadgets. It was like somebody who was like good at athleticism and crime solving was able to like take these guys down. But now it's like he's a computer genius. He's like the smartest guy who can like beat anybody if he's got.
Well, then I always think of when you say computer juice, I always think of Bale when he's having those different like Gatling guns shoot those different bullets into that concrete.
Yeah,
And he's analyzing it and he's like, no, this is it, Alfred. Like, what? For real? They taught you that at fucking Yale? Come on.
I know it's kind of crazy, and like they gave him like a lot of the things that you would have that you would need to be able to survive as a superhero because you don't have immunity. But all these movies, like he falls out of helicopters and everything, and he's fine anyways. So,
oh, get ready for the Flash. Keaton does shit you couldn't ever dream that he would ever do.
well, I do want to see him again as Batman because I really enjoyed those first two movies. Like I was a kid and I watched the first one on Betamax. That's how old I am.
Holy shit! But you're
Betamax,
only like 2 years older than me, so that blows my mind because I think I saw it. I know I saw Batman Returns in theaters.
I saw Batman Returns in theaters too. But the first one I didn't. My parents let me watch all kinds of the craziest shit that came out because I grew up in the 80s, so they didn't care. But yeah, we didn't go out to the movies a lot because of the poorness. My dad ended up getting a Betamax back then because he's like, yeah, this is where it's going to be. This is the
future. Yeah.
This is a better technology. And then VHS just like pummeled them to death. But from what I've heard, that was the better technology.
Really?
Yeah. From everything I've like researched, I mean, I haven't like researched it or anything, but I've seen videos and stuff where it's talked about how it was like better sound and video quality, and just like all around a better machine, but it costs a little bit more. So everybody like went VHS instead, and it kind of
cheap.
Yeah.
I was always, as a kid, I don't know if this ever happened to you. I was always completely fucking blown away if I went to somebody's house for any circumstance, like any holiday, like my dad's friend's Christmas party, anything, and they had a laser disc.
Yeah.
We were like, what is that?
Those things are the worst.
Really? They're not. It's like
that you had to flip in the middle of the movie. My uncle had one of those. Yeah, my uncle like used to work for the post office, and he got like MS, and he somehow like got money from them or something. I guess like so he had like a like big screen TV for back in the day. Which when I was a kid, I remember this thing being humongous. And then a few years ago, I went and visited my dad who lives in my uncle's house because my uncle's dead now. And I was like, where'd that giant TV go? And he showed it to me, and it was like a 32 inches. And I'm like, my TV at home is bigger than this, And
it was like the huge box behind it and everything.
Yeah, and it had like 3 lights that shot up in the back towards the screen. It was like crazy. But he had a Laserdisc player too, and it was so inconvenient because you'd be watching a movie and then all of a sudden it's like flip disc over, and it's like it's a CD, man. Like, what are you doing? Like,
right? Like, would it be at like super abrupt times?
Yeah, it would be just at the randomest time, like
the scene kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's no like, it's just it was like a time length limit, I think, and they're just like, okay, now's the time. Just the movie just pauses, and you have to go open.
Super delicate.
Yeah, delicate. Exactly. Put the gloves on first. Put
the
clean.
Serious.
It was a crazy technology because that was back like before CDs were mainstream.
Yeah.
I mean, they were out too, but like they weren't like you couldn't put a movie on them. Like They were still barely able to fit like 12 songs or something, and then the secret track.
I have a question for you. You're a couple years older than me. Explain this to me if you remember this. What the fuck were those mini discs that came in like those squares, but you couldn't take them out?
It came in squares. Is that 8 tracks?
No, that's way before us. No.
Like zip drive?
Like mini CDs, but it came in like a little square, like size like a matchbook with the CD in it, but you would just put that into something.
I think those are like the zip drives, because this was like between the floppy disk era.
Yeah.
The little disc that you could go
right.
And
remember the floppy disk? You have to lock it in.
Yeah, the actual floppy disks, and then they turn them into like hard disks. I remember the floppy ones from school where we had to like the terrible games on the computer. Yeah, and then they went to the floppy disk, and then those couldn't store but like a few megabytes. So then the zip drives, they came out with those, and they're like, these store 100 megabytes. You'll never need that much space. And
that's crazy.
And yeah, you had to buy this whole external like thing that you plugged in,
right? The side of it, and then yeah.
And it'd be clicking the whole time and smoking, and technology back then.
I would make an argument that like as much as our parents went from like black and white TV to the internet, we've got a case on our hands. As far as the leaps and bounds, so we're like what the fuck is a floppy disk?
Yeah, I mean the I was still watching black and white TV when I was a little kid because we
Yeah,
were poor, and but yeah, I mean, we grew up. I until I was like, I guess still even when I was in high school, I had one of those giant TVs that like
the
looks like
box. Yeah,
a giant like what the screen wasn't giant, just the whole like
yeah, like
mechanism
the
around it
wooden
was
kind of, almost like the wooden like cabinet kind of around it.
yeah something you could eat dinner off of if you didn't have a kitchen
Oh yeah,
table.
you could put the hot frying pan on top and it would be fine.
Yeah, because it had like 3 or 4 inches of wood between the screen and the bottom. So yeah, if you needed
State
to
of
move
the art, Jimmy.
4 guys.
State of the art. Okay.
And now, I mean, it's like everything's razor thin. You go to the store and they're like selling like TVs that are the size of small children, and they're like cheaper than like the 13-inch TVs were back when I was growing up.
Oh,
So
it's amazing how quick it's all changed. Which brings me to my next question for you. Last week, a guy came out who's claimed he was working at the Pentagon, and in fact, he knew for a fact that there was not only aliens in captivity. I don't know if you heard about this, but that they had recovered. They've recovered ships numerous times since Roswell, and that they have aliens in captivity. Do you buy into the reverse technology theory?
that the reason our technology is so advanced now is because we're using alien technology.
That who would it have been, Eisenhower or whoever, when Roswell happened, cut the deal and was like, they were like, yeah, here it is, but you got to figure it out. We're not going to give you any fucking clues. You never heard that?
I mean, I can see how people would say that. I personally don't buy into a lot of that kind of stuff because I think technology doesn't get better like progressively. Sometimes I think sometimes things get worse a lot because of like capitalism stuff, like the YouTube app. When that thing first started, like it was like people had the power to like put things out there, and now it's like controlled by this crazy algorithm and they're just popping commercials in every 2 seconds.
Yeah, it caused the last writer strike. Not this one, but the last one was about stuff being on YouTube.
Oh yeah, I believe it. Yeah, I mean, and it's crazy. And then now they're constantly trying to like get you to pay for versions of YouTube. They keep on announcing like different versions of YouTube, and they like try to even like, I mean, they are the ones who started the Cobra Kai show. Like
Yeah,
the like season was on or two seasons. I think it was just one season. It was on YouTube. Maybe it was 2 seasons, but
on that, what was it, like YouTube Red or something? What was it? It was like its
yeah, it
thing.
was some kind of crazy offshoot, and it's like they changed it to where it was just like a platform for people to share the videos and stuff, and turn it into this money making machine, which is basically what everything turns into. And I feel like we could have technology that's way better than this, but it's being hindered by capitalism. Just same with like cars, and we could have electric cars a long time ago, cars that could travel 90 miles to the gallon on gasoline, and people have silenced that technology.
Well, shit.
I
I
mean,
think no, you're exactly right. I
there
think.
was sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
There like a long time ago, like there was a story of this guy who invented unbreakable glass, and he went to this king who and he was like, look at this, I invented this awesome unbreakable glass. And the king killed the dude and like burned down his like laboratory because he thought it would jeopardize the glass
Right,
production.
because now you're cutting into the glass workers.
Yeah, man. And it's like constantly we're being technologically stifled by people trying to make profits.
And keep it up. There's that side of it, and I guess the rationale that unfortunately Betamax did not get the justice it deserved. But the rationale would be like, apparently at that point in history, the glass industry was propping up the economy.
But that's just the silliest thing, because if you invent another kind of glass, then that will just take over the
I think
the
so.
economy. It will just
I guess there had to be a big proportion of just repairs, I guess.
I mean, yeah, I guess if you have glass that's not going to break, then you won't have to re-buy glass as much, which is what the theory that everybody builds stuff with nowadays. They don't build it to last; they build it to break. But I just think that that's foolish as far as like progressing society, you know,
Right.
like
You're absolutely right. I think the worst culprit of all that shit is phones, I think.
you think so?
Well, I mean, like they took off the headphone jack. You have to like buy a fucking converter thing and re-upload. I don't know. I'm seriously considering going back to a flip phone. Like
Yeah,
just
I mean, it's just Apple that took that away, though, right? Does like
oh no
Samsung
no
still
no.
have it on there?
I've got the Samsung. It every once in a while I'm like, yeah, hey, hook me up with some headphones. I'm gonna go fucking run or work out or whatever. And there's nowhere to put it.
That's crazy. Yeah, see, that's just building something that requires people to buy other things. That's the microtransaction mentality, you know, like you're gonna make money off of the original thing, but you're gonna make a bunch of money off the other stuff that people are forced to buy to enjoy the original thing.
It'd be like going to Old Navy and they sell you like one leg of the swimsuit.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. Like I don't understand why we're making it harder on ourselves just to make it more profitable to some people, you know? Like
So
society can be altered in a way where we're not just fixated on money, but instead we're trying to actually promote humanity, you know? And not just humanity, like the entire world, you know, since we're kind of all interconnected anyways. But
like
people
whether we
like
like it or
us,
not, right?
yeah, I mean, like you can be obsessed with money, but you can have all the money in the world if the environment is unlivable, then you're going to be screwed anyways, you
Yeah,
know.
you're gonna die
You
too,
don't have
buddy.
people who can farm the fields and stuff, then your billions of dollars aren't going to matter. So it's
Uh,
just crazy to me that we're so fixated on this thing that's, you know, virtually meaningless, while all the other
my theory on that, Jimmy, is the fact that I think so much of our generation got so burned out by all these crazy traumatic events in the last 15, 20 years that so many of us have dropped out and been like, it's been so easy to go like, fuck it, both sides are the same, or nothing matters, yada yada. Like we don't have a voice. Uh, and the fact of the matter is, I think, and I know you were a big Bernie supporter.
mm-hmm.
Um, and I had my issues with Bernie at times, but I always agreed with his policies. My issue was just I didn't know if he was the right messenger for him because he was such a young, sexy whippersnapper. I didn't know if
Yeah,
I.
people
I'm kidding. I'm
people
kidding.
probably take him seriously because he is so young and good looking.
Like Joe is.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think there's a way. I hope at least that there's a way that our generation comes back around and goes like, "Hey, this shit's possible. We can make change."
I mean, I still believe in it, but after seeing, I mean, Facebook has really made me change my opinion about people. I thought people would get smarter as they get older, but no, they stay stupid. It is not, especially if you surround yourself with other people of form. Um, what's the word?
In your little community, your little circle, your little tribe, almost.
Yeah, reaffirming. That's what I would say.
Yeah,
A bunch of people reaffirming the same beliefs in your head. You're never gonna get any smarter because you're not looking at the real situation.
and if you never on those algorithm, if you never click on anything you disagree with, it will never show up.
exactly, which is you know, a crazy thing to me. Like it's built around like pleasing you or angering you, but not really like informing you.
Right. I mean, even you know what I can't say this. Even I go to Google News on my phone, and it's took me forever to figure this out. I think it was during COVID, which boy, that showed true colors on all of our part. Uh, but it immediately gives you your algorithm news, and if you want like the regular news, you have to go click top stories.
Sheesh. Yeah, it's crazy the way we're just like fed this I mean, like I don't know if you've read any Chomsky or anything, but manufactured consent, like
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like, and people are so oblivious to it. They just don't even really want to learn or want to even think about it because it's complicated and it makes things harder. You
and
know?
it's so difficult to get in that conversation with somebody our parents' age.
Yeah. A lot of if they've already picked a side, then the older you get, the harder it is to convince them that they chose wrong. You know,
And that makes politics so much harder because there's really not there's not a middle ground to go out and win over.
yeah, exactly. And even if one side is making a good point, like you're like, what do I can't like vote for the other side because they're gonna like allow all these other terrible things to happen, you know, and like a lot of the things kind of get misconstrued with these divergent news systems we have, which are just like cherry picking like stories and misconstruing facts. And I mean, like, just
and then I mean, let's be honest. We don't have to, tiptoe around it here. Not on this show, pal. The fact is, I think Joe's done a pretty decent job being his age and his physical things he couldn't do as far as his schedule. And I'm so grateful that he. I've got him right there on the wall with the big guy, with Barack. But the fact that, man, you wish it was somebody a little younger.
Joe is not the worst guy we've had in there, but he wouldn't have been my first or second choice,
15 years ago, maybe he would have been just kicking ass and just.
I feel like back in the day, he was even more like middle of the road, like he's never been like pushing. I feel like he's like happy with the status quo.
I'll stand up for him on this point. I think he has pushed really liberal stuff when nobody else wanted to, whether it was the assault weapons ban in the 90s that nobody wanted to get on board with and set up to the NRA that was in place up through W. And then him when Obama was too chicken shit to endorse gay marriage. And Joe Biden went on Meet the Press and was like, why the fuck not? They love each other. Who are they hurting? Come on.
Exactly, and he has done good things, and during his presidency, he's made a lot of good decisions and helped a lot of good bills pass and vetoed some bad stuff. So I mean, I feel like he's doing well, but what we need right now is, I mean, in my opinion, what the best thing for this country right now would be somebody who's going to push super hard to push us back as a country to like the other side, the side where we're not the only industrialized country in the world that doesn't have healthcare promised to its citizens, like it just college like that doesn't like cripple you with debt, like all these things, it close all these tax loopholes, like end Citizens United, like get rid of
they're easy fixes if you're willing to stand up and get them done.
Willing to like blaze through it, bulldoze through all this crap, which the other side is willing to do.
I want to point out that the only word you didn't say that I was thinking was a word that was so gross to us when we were in high school because of W and Cheney, which was American values.
Yeah, and I mean,
I never thought we'd be like the liberal ones, like at our age now, and going into our 40s, going like, we used to have American values over here.
Yeah, but that was back when the other side wasn't that shit crazy.
That's true too. Nobody, the biggest problem I have is that the mainstream media won't just say, and I hate that term, I shouldn't even said it, but like, you know what I mean? The big media companies won't just go, hey, these fucking people on this side are crazy, and here's what Joe Biden said.
Yeah, which is how you should put it. Like, you can't be like trying to have bipartisanship when one side is waving Nazi flags. Like that's crazy. You don't make deals with Nazis.
Right. And too often Democrats are willing to go like, well, let's meet them halfway.
Yeah, and you don't meet them anywhere. You kick their teeth in with your steel-toed boots.
Oh, they're so lucky Lyndon Johnson's not around.
I mean, it drives me absolutely bonkers the way that this country is just like normalized fascism in a way, like.
Oh yeah, I think we'll look back. I think we'll look back in 20 years, and raising our kids, if my guys figure out how to swim, and we're going to the doctor. We'll see how it goes, and I think we will seriously look back and go like, what the fuck was going on? Who was allowing this to fucking even be talked about? Like, I mean, it's really, really scary. And I don't want to seem like I'm tipping the scale for one side. There's no scale. They're literally holding Nazi flags.
Yeah. If you're parading around with swastikas and like lightning bolts on your jacket and stuff, then you are the bad guy, man. Like, and there's no like meeting you in the middle ground. It's like looking back at Germany during pre-World War II. You're like, how in the world did they allow that to happen? It's because people are easily manipulated, and if they just get a whiff of propaganda that allows them to feel better about themselves while blaming somebody else for the problems they're facing, instead of actually, taking the problems in their own hands and trying to fix them and being responsible for themselves, then that's gonna like allow this kind of insanity to happen again. When you have news outlets like Fox News who are knowingly pushing lies, like their anchors know that they're lying. They have like these group chats where they're just like talking about how stupid these lies are and how they can't believe anybody believes them, and then going and saying those things like it's true. Like it's mind-boggling, and I'm surprised that Fox News hasn't been sued like this before, because it's not the first time.
Yeah, no, they've been doing this for a long time. And here's what I want to ask you. You're a very, very smart guy, and I love your perspective on all this. Do you think Trump just fucking just wore us down? Because here's the second part of this is when this huge indictment that makes Nixon's Watergate case look like Meet the Beatles, or
Yeah.
Beatles at Shea Stadium. This comes down, and everybody is so goddamn desensitized and beat down that to me, I had a one-man dance party in the living room out here when that news broke, because I feel like I knew the severity of it. But do you think that he just beat us down psychologically and emotionally for so long that it's almost like it's your crazy ex?
I mean, I feel like when I got the news, I didn't do a dance. I'm like, good. I hope something happens from this, because I feel like he's just been getting away with so much, and like you said, it's kind of like worn us down. It's like every other day there was a new scandal, and nobody was holding him accountable for any of it.
Ever.
And he kept getting away with one thing after another. Like, and I mean, the fact that like people would just let him get away with it too. Like all these Republicans who were talking so much trash about him before he got elected, like during the debates, they're like, he's not fit, he's not this and that, and then they just turn and sniff his butt the whole time, man.
Rubio and Christie got on those Republican knees.
Yeah, dude, that's what it is. They're just sycophantic, like yes men that will do.
I don't understand Jimmy. What did they fear? I can't imagine that this imbecile had anything on anybody.
He just had the way to talk to people, to make them believe that he was telling them the truth, even when he was flat out lying to them. Like he has a weird ability. I never liked the guy. I don't understand what some people find appealing about him, but he's able to connect with.
I was in Home Alone 2. I crushed it in Home Alone 2.
Yeah. In Home Alone 2, that one line, great job, buddy. Like it's just I don't know. I think it's just
I remember that upsetting me as a kid, going like, "Who is this guy? We're on a mission here."
Yeah, I've never really cared about him. I've honestly not liked rich people since I was a kid. Like Christmas Carol. I didn't even like Scrooge McDuck, man. Like I was like, dude,
he was a total prick. I grew up over there off Westgate, and then my dad made some money and moved us out to Westlake, a lot different than Westgate. And dude, I fucking couldn't relate, hated it. I mean, as a child, I was like, really?
Yeah.
What the fuck's going on here? Like, fucking for real? Like, a kid one day, my dad splooged with like his first big law firm partner check and leased a Mercedes, we'll see how this goes. I may have turned it in 2 months. And I remember this punk kid that like got off the bus and came to hang out or whatever, waiting for his parents to pick him up, ran out to see what type of Mercedes my dad had to compare it to his dad's. And I was like, what? And he runs out to my dad's car, and I'm like, what is it, on fire? Like, what's going on? And my dad was cool enough, having grown up poor on a military base himself, was like, the kid never came over again, and I was awesome. And this story is I've ruined the whole story, but I mean, when you look at the real income inequality, to think that 50% of this country makes less than 30 grand a year, that's fucking insane.
Yep. And it's crazy because I've known a lot of rich people and they are never happy. They're never happy people. I mean, they could be nice people. I've known a lot of rich, nice people that are good in their heart, but they're not happy. None of them. They're always because they don't understand how to enjoy what they have. They don't know how to make do with what they've got. It's always they need something else. So even if they have everything, they still need something else because they don't know how to just be.
And I think that's one thing that, like, you're exactly right. And I think it's one thing that really fucked up. And after this, we'll get back to something fun. But sorry, folks, we're solving the problems.
Comedy, right, everybody?
But I think one thing our generation suffers from is the fact that there's no middle class for us. Like whether it's you and you're married, right?
Yeah.
You and your wife, or myself and Tara. There's no middle class to jump in.
Yeah, it's crazy when you watch like shows from the 90s, like Married with Children or The Simpsons and stuff. Like they were a one income family, they can afford a house,
2 cars, like a 3-bedroom home.
Yeah, and now it's like you can't buy anything, like unless you just luck out and win the lottery or something.
Oh, I know.
Like,
we're in a duplex these days, and we're pretty sure our landlord next door is the Austin serial killer.
Uh-oh,
you know about that, right?
Or whatever they call him, the Riverside.
Yeah, well, there's theories it's a woman, but I'm pretty sure it's my landlord.
You think so?
Well, he's been gone a lot of nights. Why did I turn into Trump out there? He's been gone a lot of nights.
Maybe he's getting into stand-up.
He's out doing sets. He's doing the best sets. I've been obsessed with watching Trump lately, due to the fact that it's so clear that he's going batshit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The other night he opened his speech with the theme, that big emotional song from Cats.
I'm not sure.
I won't do it justice. We'll have to look it up. I wish Tara was here; she'd know it. But apparently, the song's all about like how much better my life used to be.
I mean,
he doesn't hide it. That in My Way, and what was the other? Gloria, Gloria, which is about a prostitute in the 70s that made it right. I mean, and now he's added, instead of YMCA, he's adding in Macho Man from the Village People.
I thought they said that he couldn't use those songs?
Yeah, well, hell, Steven could, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, man. Wow, that's it's crazy. I don't know. I don't understand how that guy is not just in jail already.
I don't know how he hasn't died of the stress.
I mean, you're not stressed when you're constantly slipping out of the grasp of any justice. Like you're just.
It's got to be. I mean, like you said, you've never known a rich person that was happy.
Yeah, exactly. And he's probably, the richer you get, the more unhappy you get. I feel like, even though you have.
I think it's where Notorious B.I.G. and Puff Daddy warned us.
Yep.
No money, no problems.
Wise men.
It stands to the test of time.
It does.
No, I saw last thing about Trump. I got to tell you, because it's fucking crazy. After his arraignment the other day, I'm obsessed with this right now. He went to a famous Cuban restaurant, and it was going to be like a rah-rah thing. And they realized it was his birthday the next day, the day after the arraignment. I guess it was Wednesday of last week. And they start singing, and it's clear that it's like Cuban immigrants who have been like bussed in to be supporters. Because the birthday song consisted of happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. And some old like Jewish lady who still believes in him grabbed his arm and was like, Mr. President, happy birthday. He was like, same birthday. And just such a dickhead to these people who are like, this is all you have left, dude.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You're gonna, if you don't appreciate what you got, you're gonna piss it away. You're not gonna treat it like it's worth. And then eventually that's what you're gonna be celebrating on your birthday. It's sad. off-brand happy birthday
Let me
song.
ask you something. As a comic, and as a very progressive and liberal dude, uh, will Al Franken ever come back?
I think he should have never left. That was the craziest bullcrap I've ever seen. Like they were like he attacked this woman. Yeah, the pictures he wasn't touching her at all. He faked put his hands in front of her boobs.
He was also on a comedy tour when he did that.
Yeah, he was on a comedy tour. It was a joke.
He wasn't a senator
if he had
yet.
groped her for real, like that would have been something different. But he put his hands in front of him like it was like he would. I don't understand. It's like, yeah, exactly. Is that gonna? What is the difference between doing
He had
that?
a fucking bulletproof vest on, Jimmy.
Huh?
She had a bulletproof vest on that helicopter. Like she had the whole flak jacket on, and that was, I think, half of the joke was like.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy, and then the fact that he's like, okay, you guys, that was inappropriate, which I disagree with it being inappropriate. I don't think he was making jokes. It was being silly. Like
I think if he had been a senator at the time, there might have been a conversation to take place.
Yeah, he wasn't. Had been elected after that had happened. Like he was a comedian during the time. There was no kind of touching or anything. He's not like asking her inappropriate questions, and then they're like the Republicans like want to bust on him, and then they go and want to support people like Roy Moore, who's like being kicked out of malls for like aggressive
legit Alabama child molester.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like championing this guy like right after they're like, what you did was unacceptable. There's no self accountability. It's all
you think like from a comedian brain. Do you think Al Franken regrets that decision?
The boob thing or the
no leaving
from a comedian standpoint? I think that he kind of does, because I've seen him talk about some things, and I haven't seen him do any comedy specials since then. So I feel like he was getting a good paycheck. I feel like he should have been there. He was a good senator, he
was the only one taking it out to Trump people in those hearings.
Yeah. So I feel like he should have just played the course and let the people decide, He could have been like, yeah, I did that. This was the situation. Like, if you guys don't feel like that was appropriate, then vote for the next guy during the primary, like vote me out.
Yeah, let the folks of Minnesota decide, right? Like
instead of caving to the Republicans, being like that was inappropriate, and like fuck those people.
And it was also that first wave of super woke for the sake of body count.
That's also stupid. Like, take each situation by itself. Don't just jump on a bandwagon because it's the popular thing. Investigate the situation. Be like, why did you do that? What was going on? Like, is this lady who's complaining right now complaining just because she's a conservative radio host? Or is it?
Oh, Jimmy, don't get real. You're getting real.
Well, I'm sorry. I should have been a comedian. Yeah. I don't know. I got into upset mode when we started talking about, or not upset mode, just like
no, but that's the truth that people don't realize. I think across most of the countries, the fact that the lady accusing him is a Roger Stone backed media person.
Yeah, that people were picking and choosing things to believe, like they always do, in the media outlets especially. But when you look at the full story, you're just like, this is not really as bad as people thought it was.
He never had another accuser.
Yeah, exactly. There's no other accusers. There's no other like situations where he was doing it. It was
been married to the same woman since like before he was on SNL.
I don't know his personal story.
I can fill you in. He's been married to Franny, his wife, since he was in college.
Yeah, man. So I just don't understand like why I do feel like accountability needs to be there and everybody should be held accountable, but at the same level,
Right.
Like,
it's gotta be equal playing field, right?
Yeah, don't try to take accountability because other people who wouldn't take accountability for themselves are telling you to take accountability for yourself. Like, I mean, you should be like explaining your situation, but don't just like acquiesce to your like whole position of power because like something happened. Like, I don't know. In this particular situation, I feel that way. In other situations, I'm like, yeah, get that guy out of there.
Right.
Like Cuomo and stuff. Like, that's clearly
Cuomo's a dirtbag. What Cuomo's doing was fucking crazy dirtbag shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And he has both nipples pierced. We can't trust that.
you never can trust anybody with their nipples
Come
pierced.
on, man.
I mean,
Show up to spring break, see the nipple pierce guy. You're like, babe, let's get out of here.
uh,
I want to ask you though. Do you have any thoughts about my current favorite angry up and comer, Patrick Bateman? I'm sorry, Gavin Newsom is his name.
old Gavin Newsom, the governor of California.
I'm a big fan. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid these days.
I don't know too much about him other than he's the governor of California and he's done some good stuff. But I don't know much about like what the
Hey, high
future.
school dropout. Huh?
Yeah,
Huh?
you
Started
know.
a bunch of fancy restaurants in San Francisco. First mayor in the country. This ad isn't paid for by the Gavin Newsom campaign. Don't worry. First mayor in the country to what's it called? Not qualify, but officiate a gay marriage
Oh, right on.
and solidify it. Pissed Bush and Cheney the fuck off real bad. Then became lieutenant governor under Jerry Brown. Learned his way up under old Yoda Jerry Brown. And now it just feels like he's over the shit.
Good. I mean, we need more people who are like that, like more people who will just stand up and be like, we're not playing around anymore. People who will treat politics like the Republicans are treating politics, except for on the side of the good.
Right.
You know?
Well, and you look back, Bill Clinton wasn't some pussy.
Yeah.
You say what you want about Carter. He was the most forward thinking of all the Democrats. Solar panels, White House and shit.
I mean,
he's still building houses. He's
I know.
years old.
It's like it's the craziest thing. You see him and he's like a skeleton out there with a hammer. It's nuts. But man, he's given back like more than that. You don't see any other president out there giving back.
By the way, Reagan's been dead since we were in high school.
Yeah, brain dead for sure.
No, he was dead. He was brain dead when we were like in elementary school, I think.
Yeah.
Just shitting in his pants. Well,
good times.
Well, Vance, I think I made another one. Where do you think comedy is going right now with I'm not familiar with like the kind of stuff you're doing on stage these days. Is it do you think we're at a place where we get back to like pushing the limits and like really like focusing on being funny instead of what people think about being funny?
When I first started comedy, I thought the whole thing about comedy was like shocking people and like pushing the limits and trying to like, be edgy. But as I kind of got out of comedy for a while and then just started thinking about my life, I just want to make it fun. Like, I don't want to necessarily have to be the person who's like changing
politics and then leading a revolution and shit.
Yeah. I mean, I want to make people laugh and have a good time, and I'll address those things, and I'll make jokes about them and stuff, but I don't want it to be the crux of my like persona on stage,
I completely agree with you.
Whatever I feel is funny at the moment and just try to make that a funny thing.
I think if we're all just willing to be silly and just be fun.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people in comedy, I feel like take it so serious that they don't have fun anymore. They just they grind, and it's like the thing about grinding is if you do it too long, there's nothing left,
Right.
Like, you gotta polish sometimes, like
well, and fucking enjoy your work, right?
Exactly. Put that thing up on the shelf and just watch it.
I also feel like there's so many of our colleagues, especially in this town, I feel like every set is like Eddie Murphy doing Delirious. I don't mean material-wise, but I mean like the pressure they put on themselves.
Yeah, I mean material-wise too. Some of these guys, holy shit, they're like telling jokes like it's the '80s still.
Is it bad? I've been out lately.
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, hosting an open mic, the amount of comedians that have moved to Austin is just like
it's just astounding because I'm sure because of Rogan, right?
Yeah, a lot of it's because of Rogan. A lot of it's just because when Texas was faster to open up than like other places, So you had an influx of people from like California moving over here. You had all these other people moving here. And Austin has just like become this comedy mecca, you know, like we already had the
Which is
band.
crazy to me because the only people I ever see playing the mothership are Rogan and Ron White, and like maybe a guest.
Yeah. And I mean, that's just how they operated. They set up this club so they have a place to like do it, you know, like, and they have an audience to do it too, you know, like there's a lot of people who follow that. I like Ron White a lot. I'm not a big
Love
fan
Ron
of
White.
Rogan. But
I
yeah.
smoked weed with Ron White one time. I love that guy. I don't know about his new school, the new school like long hair cult leader look. That kind of is off-putting a little bit.
Well, you know, I mean, he's getting older. He might not have hair for much longer. Who
He
knows?
went full Ra's al Ghul on us.
Well, I mean, as long as he's still telling jokes that are good, I feel like that's
Absolutely, absolutely, telling great stories, and you know that's what I think I was getting at was like, let's make it fucking fun again.
yeah, yeah. I feel like there's a lot of like animosity too in comedians like society. There's a lot of people who are like, I can't believe that guy got a Netflix special, or like all these people like, especially judgment coming to the people who have like made it from the lower ranks. It's like, can't
Right.
you just be happy for people, you know, like
Right.
where you see somebody making it, be like, that guy did it, you know, like
Because it's a
what do I
really
need?
you're only shadow boxing yourself, right?
Yeah, again, it comes down to accountability, you know, like don't worry about what other people are doing. Just hold yourself accountable to your own actions, you know, like if it's not working for you, what have you done to make it work, or what do you need to change to make it
Right.
work?
It's like being a golfer. Nobody's blocking your shot.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I like it. It's kind of like skateboarding too, you know, like it's not something that you're competing against other people with. It's
It's
just
it's
you.
right.
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing, and I like it a lot because it seems like one of the most free forms of like art, you know, whereas a lot of the other art is far more structured, or it can be at least. I mean, comedy can be really structured too. Like I know some people who like go up there and do the same jokes all the time,
Oh fuck, Jimmy! Don't get me started.
at all.
God,
And
the amount of people I know that will do the same fucking 5 minutes verbatim.
yeah. And I mean, if you're doing a show, yeah, you want to bring your best 5 minutes, you know, you want to, or whatever, not 5 minutes, you want to bring your best material. So, I mean, but if you're doing an open mic, go and try out new jokes. That's how you
Fun,
get
dude.
like, you know, so people will I don't feel like they're treating it the way that they should to be able to grow inside of it. You know, they'll go out every single night of the week and do the same jokes, but they won't write any more material. So, I mean, if they ever did get booked somewhere, they've got like 5 minutes of jokes. And
Like, so what you gonna do now?
yeah, exactly. And it's the same jokes that everybody, all the other comedians have heard. So it's not like doing them at an open mic is doing you any justice. You're
Uh,
not really getting the laughs and learning where you should pause in the
like,
jokes.
you're not evolving.
Yeah, because you're just doing the same jokes instead of the same people, so they're not
Going
even going to
through the
find it
motions.
funny. Yeah,
Jack Neal,
yeah,
right?
that, huh?
You know Jack Neal, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Great guy, hilarious dude.
yeah.
He's always since 6-7 years ago in San Marcos encouraged me to do crowd work. At times where there were other comics pissed off that I was just going up there with nothing to do crowd work. And he played a show with me in New Braunfels last weekend. I think it was last weekend. At a little theater called Silver Spoon, and I had this whole. I was gonna like impress Jack. Like I had this whole set that I'd like beat out every point, every flow. This goes into this.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I get up there, this fucking old drunk couple come up and sit front row, and they are insistent on participating. So I everything went out the window, and come to find out, not only are they old and drunk, but they're cheating on their spouses. Like once that information comes out, they acknowledge that to me. They go, "You guys married?" And the guy was like, "She is." And just I mean the fucking plane was hijacked like 9/11 at that point. Like this is going to the Pentagon now.
There's no way of getting that thing back on track after you.
Never at all. And I've had Tara or a buddy of mine who was there. Jack would never. Jack was like, get up, but like, hey, you should have kept doing your stuff. But you have to react to what's going on in the room, right? Like you can't just sit there and just plow through when somebody's blatantly heckling or trying to tack on a fucking punchline for you. But you're like, sir, we're fine.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you have to address it. I found that there's a real fine line to like being funny with the hecklers and letting them know they can't participate anymore. And like, there's like three ways to deal with it. Basically, you can either just talk to them, and then it becomes like a you and them kind of thing, and you just kind of like can riff off them or whatever. You can put them in their place and hopefully teach them a lesson, and that will have them shut up. Or you can just turn and like be an incredible asshole to them. And I don't think that's the best way to do it, but I've seen a lot of people do it like that.
I wish I had this on tape, so we could illustrate it right now. But I was very much like very like light gloves, very fun with it, and like whatever. But they kept going.
Yeah. And then eventually I feel like you have to take off the gloves and hit them with some hard stuff, Like you do a couple of light ones just to be like, you're messing with somebody who knows how to hit back. And then if they don't get the message, then you just have to take the gloves off and just like, don't be an asshole to them though, because then your audience will turn on you. I've found like if you just hit them with really funny things.
Right. Yeah. As long as you're funny, as long as your responses are funny, the crowd will be with you.
That will make them hopefully feel some kind of like remorse for like attacking you. But you don't want to just be like, I'm not going to say who it was, but like
Jack Neal, it's fine. You can say I'm kidding.
No, it wasn't him. It wasn't Jack.
I'm totally kidding.
He might have been there that night there at Little Woodrow's. There was this lady who was like super duper drunk, and this one comedian went on there and was just like, "You're a fucking bitch. You fucking bitch. You're like my fucking ex-wife."
Like, have you ever seen that Bill Hicks video in Chicago?
Oh, I think I might have.
He goes off. He's like, "I'm a fucking cunt. I should be going to Madonna," and like dances around, just out of his mind. Like it's dark.
Yeah, and it kind of gets uncomfortable, and it's not really a fun thing anymore. I feel like the audience is like, now they're like, you're the weirdo instead of the person who is yelling random shit. Like, so I feel like whenever that kind of stuff happens, the way you got to deal with it is like light punches.
What's the worst heckler you've ever had to deal with?
I've done comedy in VR a few times.
Where?
In VR, virtual reality.
Oh wow! How the fuck does that work?
You put on the helmet and they have comedy clubs in there and everything, and
so you're like it's your avatar.
Yeah, you have like a little avatar and you go up on stage and
you're fucking Eddie Murphy of Tron.
Yeah, dude, and it's great, and you can make your avatar look whatever you want and stuff. And there's like people who are in there who are there.
On what platform do you doing this?
It's with the little Oculus headset. They used to have it on something called Alt Space, but then that was what Microsoft ran that. Then they shut that down. So now you have to do it in the Metaverse, Horizon, which is the one run by Zuckerberg, or VR Chat, which I don't know who runs that, but that's the VR Chat is the crazy one because the other ones you look kind of humanish. You look kind of like a weird, those Weeble Wobbles, but they don't fall down toys. Like you kind of looked like a little bit, or like a Nintendo Mii.
Does it match your mannerisms at all?
Yeah. You move your hands, you turn your head, all that stuff. Like,
wait, so you've got the goggles on. You're looking at a room full of people, or whatever they are.
Yeah, and they're laughing.
Crazy,
and they also send up emoticons or whatever when they think stuff is funny and other things. Yeah, because sometimes they're in the back and you can't hear them laughing all the way to the front because like the voice travels only so far in the thing. So they'll send up other ways that you think is funny. But the thing about that is, just like on a computer, people are hidden behind their like avatar, and so it's not really them. So they feel a lot more emboldened to like just say random shit and just try to like talk to you in the middle of your jokes and shit. And I've had just random people like come up to me and say like random shit. So I was doing a joke about like how I measured this thing in centimeters instead of inches, and then the guy at Lowe's got super mad at me. And it was like this long bit, and this guy's like, centimeters are longer than inches or some shit, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then he like just kept talking at me, and like I was like, I don't have time to explain like third grade measurements to you, dude.
And it's
Like,
digital, so you don't get that like that in the room eye contact.
yeah, it's weird because they're completely unaware of what they're even doing compared to the other people.
And they don't know. They don't know how hard you beat the fuck out of them.
Yeah, and so you kind of just have to, you can insult them there too, but it doesn't always stop them. They don't feel the same like remorse or embarrassment as they would if they were in a crowd of real people who are all going to turn and look at them like, what the fuck are you doing?
This is
And
fascinating. I had no idea this was a thing. I knew Zoom stand up was a thing.
yeah, during the pandemic, I started doing the Zoom comedy just to do something.
Just to have something to do. That's how this podcast got started. We just needed something to fucking do.
Yeah, and it was good for what it was, and I'll still do it every now and then. Like, I'll just hop on one if I'm not doing like comedy that night. I want to try out some new jokes. I'll just hop on a Zoom mic or whatever, or a VR open mic. Because
what's crazy about the Zoom mic to me is that you can see everybody who's there or not.
Yeah.
So like, if somebody doesn't like, you can't do the thing of like, oh no, we popped into your show. Yeah, we had to leave early.
Yeah.
Either like they'll know if you're not. But I've always thought, is it not weird that it's not in the same room as everybody? I mean, I think the VR thing probably feels a little bit more kind of in it than and I've never done either one, but it seems like the VR would be like more involved as opposed to just the Zoom thing.
Yeah, it kind of is. It's more immersive. I mean, you're there, you're like usually not sitting down. I mean, you can be sitting down if you want it, but like your avatar's standing up, you're moving around, like you can act things out. I mean, this is like very boxed in, so you can't even see my hand motions that I'm doing down here unless I move the camera. But everything's kind of like telegraphed, and everybody is in a big room kind of together, sort of sharing the experience more so than just being in their own living room, because you're like immersed in it. It's like actually being in another place.
Is that the fucking, like, am I sleeping on this? Is that the future? Are we gonna be like, is it 10 years from now where it's like, hey babe, you want to go to the comedy club tonight and just put on your headsets?
Some people are already like that. There's a big community of people who like go to almost all of the shows out there and stuff. These Canadians that I know, Bob and Mary, they're there at every show, and it's great because Mary laughs very easily, so it's nice. But yeah, there's like a whole group of people who will show up to the comedy just because they don't. There's a lot of people in life, I think, who are more introverted and just like and opposed to like going out, like going to bars or hanging out.
That makes sense. That part makes sense.
So there's a whole new group of people that you can reach with that kind of comedy, like virtually. And I did it when
for some reason the VR thing seems so much more, I don't want to say normal. None of it's normal, but like for some reason the Zoom thing where you can see where everybody is, like you can take that attendance record. That seems problematic.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird sometimes, especially when you're in the middle of a joke and then somebody just cuts out and you're like, well, damn, I guess they didn't think I was funny. But you never know what's going on. They might have
right. You
something.
can straight up see somebody just leave.
Yeah. I mean, I've had to like pause my stuff because the dogs are like going crazy in the background or something. And I mean, it happens. You can't really do that same kind of a thing in the virtual world, like you're there. I mean, you could take your headset off and deal with things, but then that kind of like kicks you out of the room and stuff, and then you have to do all this stuff to get back in there.
Right. This is fascinating. I'm learning all kinds of stuff I had no idea about.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and they kind of started kicking it off during the pandemic as well. And I had a comedian friend who was doing it, and he's like, yeah, anybody who wants to come and try this in Austin can come and check it out. And several comedians did, and I did it, and I enjoyed it so much I bought myself a mask, and I've been doing it ever since, on and off. It's a great thing to kind of like just like the Zoom things, just go and try out some new material
and just staying loose, right? Just doing something.
Exactly, kind of like grinding, but in it without having to leave my house.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we get out of here, it's a question we've been asking all of our guests recently. 5 movies, any genre, that had a huge impact on your life? It can be in a row, ranked. It can be in no particular order. 5 flicks that you go like, man.
I gotta say, probably Up in Smoke and Half Baked.
Yeah.
Probably
Let's go together. I think they sell them in a DVD twin pack at Best Buy.
Yeah, I've got those DVDs, so I don't need to. What's one of the few DVDs I actually own. I liked the first Ninja Turtle movie. That was really cool.
Nice.
Big fan of that.
Were they like menthol or regular?
Menthol or regular?
At the when they at the foot soldier hideout?
Oh yeah.
Remember? They're like, we can get you
That
anything
place
you
was
want.
the dopest hideout ever, man. That was the
Everything.
place. Dude, I would have joined the Foot Clan to just hang out in that place, man. At skateboard ramps, they're just boozing and smoking. I'm not into the cigarettes, but the other stuff, you know. I don't know what the other ones would be.
Two more.
Dumb and Dumber was a good one.
Yeah.
And maybe the first Batman. I don't know.
All right. We'll throw Keaton in there. I gotta tell you, man, we've done like an hour and a half. This has been so much fun, dude. You gotta come back on sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to, man. I'd love to talk next time. I'll be funnier.
It seems to be, I think, I don't know what's going on, but it seems to be conversations have been kind of serious lately. Yeah, but next time we'll get you come back soon, and we'll fuck around and we'll play around and we'll make you do your convention speech like you did today.
Yeah. We'll touch on abortion and religion next time. We'll cover
the lighthearted stuff.
Yeah.
The fun stuff. Where can people find you?
I'm Jimmy Smoltich on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. Nothing too creative, just Jimmy Smoltich. I might be going on a little tour up in North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin area.
When? I'll be in South Dakota in July.
That's when I'm supposed to go. But I don't know if it's going to happen or not. Some of the venues canceled, so I don't really know what exactly is going to hapen because it's got to be
other comics.
Yeah. Simply Courtney. I don't know if you.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah, we know each other well.
Yeah. We were going to go and do it through the Turn 2 Entertainment, comedy operation
umbrella. Yeah. Very cool.
Well, I'm not sure. We'll see if that ends up happening. If not, I'll be at Little Woodrow's every Monday.
Hell yeah.
You can see.
All right, will you be there this Monday?
I will be there for fun Juneteenth.
Oh shit! I'm gonna try to get out Monday, man. I'm gonna try to get out Monday and come do a set with you.
Awesome, dude. Yeah, that sounds great, and the list fills up pretty quickly. So hit me up if you are running late or anything.
Well, luckily I know the host.
Yeah, exactly. Luckily.
I hate pulling that card, but I'm like,
I mean, sometimes you gotta, man.
Sometimes you gotta drop that Betamax on them and be like, it's a far superior technology.
Exactly. Anybody who's Betamax friendly will go up early on
this shit ain't Laserdisc, dude. Hey, thanks so much, Jimmy, for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. This was so much fun, dude. It was great. Yeah, really diving deep and getting to know each other a little better. And next time, I promise we'll get silly.
Yeah, that sounds great. I appreciate you, Sam. Thanks for letting me come on here and talk politics and things.
Hey! It was more than politics, and I hope you reminded some folks about what matters, and I think you did. I can sit here and jerk you off all day, but it's a Saturday. We want to go be silly.
Yeah, man.
Last thing I'm going to say is I love your art for the mics on Monday.
Oh, thank you so much.
Love it. I mean, I think I told you it has like an old school National Lampoon vibe.
For sure. Yeah, I've got a lot of my art on Instagram too. So if anybody wants to check it out, there's a lot of pictures that I did during the pandemic. Like I was bored, so I just had people give me random characters and I just drew mashups of them.
Oh,
so there's a lot of that artwork and stuff.
Did you go to
Then-
art school? This is a side note, but did you go to art school, or is this all just like just raw?
I mean, I went to art school. They don't really teach you a lot. It's just like they're like, here, draw this now. So it's basically just a time and a place to draw. They don't really do much teaching. So being an
You're
art
the most quiet motherfucker I've ever met. Where you're like, yeah, they were like, whatever, it's art, do whatever. And you're like, whatever.
yeah, I mean
Your
that's
talent
how
rises above everybody who sees this. If you haven't seen Jimmy, go see him. I'm going to make a trip out to South Park Meadows, Little Woodrow's, Monday, 7:30. Sign up if you're a comic, and an 8 p.m. show, and we're all going to be observing the Juneteenth holiday.
Oh yeah, and if you're a comedian, you'll get free pizza if you can.
No
make
shit,
Yeah, if you're a performer. So,
I'm there.
heck yeah, heck yeah. Well, thanks again, Sam. This was a lot of fun.
This is a blast, man. I can't wait to have you on again soon. I'll get this ready and I'll get it uploaded and tell your lady thanks for putting up with us today and the missus and let's do it again soon.
Sounds great. Well, happy Saturday. See you on Monday.
Happy Saturday.